hours and hours and hours, and that tends to have a receding effect on the water at the coast. So it's almost like a reverse storm surge because the flow was offshore instead of coming right up into the bay. So Ian causing plenty of problems close to where we are. Tropical depression number 11 is far from where we are, and the overall expectation is for it to stay far away from our region and probably growing into the next tropical storm, maybe just a brief lifespan for that. If it does reach 40 miles per hour, it would be named Julia, but it's going to stay in the open waters of the Atlantic and not come anywhere close to the United States. Unlike Ian, which we've been tracking for about it seems like forever, but it's really been about 10 days since it was a disturbance, but it finally made its presence known across the peninsula in the form of strong winds, heavy rain, slower moving system around the I-4 corridor does raise the chances for flooding. The system diminishes in strength, but may resume a path over water over the Gulf Stream of the far western Atlantic, so just off the first coast and into the Georgia coastline. That sort of positioning keeps it farther away from us. So I do think the main effect we'll continue to have is the breeze coming in from the north-northeast. Some of our eastern areas can get clipped by a couple of these outer bands, but it doesn't look like anything substantial when it comes to rain accumulations. You may have a quick squall that comes in, especially around Interstate 75, but as what's left of Ian moves across the Savannah River, our winds over the weekend will become more northwest and westerly. That ushers in more dry air just waiting to our west, and maybe some clouds could linger. But overall, the weekend is definitely going to be salvageable without any major mention of rain or strong thunderstorms, nothing of the like. But we'll monitor our eastern areas. That's where we're going to notice some of those bands that have been set up across the north central Florida peninsula, some of the heavy rain and even squally conditions heading towards the Gainesville area in Alachua County. The air is still quite dry where we are, so many of these will struggle to make much more westward progress, but I will not be surprised if rain does tend to set up along the Suwannee River overnight, and maybe a couple low-end wind gusts that come along with that. Here's how it looks in the forecast and focus. It does bring a few of those bands, Branford, Hatch Bend, over towards Cross City and thereabouts. Maybe trying to make its way towards Highway 19 in Taylor County, but there's going to be a sharp cutoff between any kind of rain in the Suwannee River counties and essentially no rain to accumulate across our western areas. We talked about that west-east split, and now it's just mainly the eastern eighth of the region, I guess you could say, that can have any kind of rain impacts. And as the clouds may still flow through, you could have limited sunshine, and the breezes will still be obvious, but it looks like overall rainfall projections are very low. Some of us will get maybe a few tenths of an inch, especially around the I-75 region, but the flooding rain is going to be confined to areas around the First Coast and the Central Florida Peninsula. That could be a big issue for areas like Orlando, but the rain flooding situation will not set up here. We'll just have a little below average temperature regime for another couple of days, influenced by the breeze and clouds. Sunshine starts to break out and the temperatures rebound in the afternoons, but a steady trend of morning lows in the low to mid 60s. Just like this morning, it could be pretty refreshing for several days ahead.